the Superintendent of Schools for Mason County Central. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for being a part of the conversation this morning.
I appreciate you having me and the Educational Foundation and getting ready for this big event this weekend.
Absolutely. And, we were just talking before we went live on our YouTube and Facebook pages that you've been an educator for 33 years, but I believe that the community auction has been around almost that length of time too. What's the history behind this?
Yeah, this is the 31st community auction. So it started a while back. It started before I came to Mason County Central 27 years ago, but this will be my 27th community auction, and they just get better and better every year, with the only exception of the COVID years. We had to do an online version, but when we pivoted back from that, which we were very happy to do, it was because I'll say the online auction was easy. Throwing a party is a lot of work, but we love throwing the party because it does bring that community unity part of the community together. And people just cried out, "Hey, you got to get back to the party! You got to get back to the party!" And, well, we're here, So we're having another great party this coming Saturday. Doors open at 5:30. We're going to have another great time, and we have a theme every year, and it's a night of pure imagination. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to say, think of it as a blend between Willy Wonka and the game Candyland. So you're going to just see a lot of bright colors and a lot of fun, and some folks probably dressed up like Willy Wonka and others. And I'm a little boring. I've got a Candyland T-shirt. I'm just not. I will not be Willy Wonka on Saturday.
Hey, that's okay. You're still going to have fun along with everybody else. There's so many questions I have for you. So let's dive into this and talk about it. We'll get to a lot of the items on the auction block and all of that. But you mentioned very much in that first sentence about the community foundation that helping to organize this for the benefit of it. Let's start there, because I don't think we talk enough about that part of it. And let's dive into it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's great. Great question. The Mason County Central Educational Foundation has been in existence for longer than this community auction. This was one of the events they started. The first event they ever had, and which is still ongoing, is our Saturday after Labor Day golf outing out at Lakeside Link. So that happened well before this. But this came about, in the Educational Foundation was started to support education here at Mason County Central for our kiddos, and in events that, events or things and items that maybe don't come out of a normal school budget. They're extras and things. So if a teacher has a special project and they can apply for a mini grant to say, hey, I want to spruce up the school forest, or something like that, something neat and different. We did a lot of technology in the past. Another example is all of our security cameras. This is kind of crazy, but all of our security cameras have been purchased now through the Ed Foundation as a safety measure. They got behind safety, and they were good. And now we are the first in the area, frankly, the second in the state of Michigan to use what's called Zero Eyes, which is a weapons detection system using AI, using our cameras and things. So we bought good cameras through the foundation, and then other things like post-prom, which is something that's very important. It's coming up here. Prom is right around the corner. We sponsor that entirely. And, there's a lot of things that the foundation does that are just the supplemental parts of the what happens in the classroom, so it's been, this is my 27th year at Mason County Central. I learned about the community auction 27 years ago. My boss at the time, Mark Dobiash, said, hey, you going to the auction, right? And I'm like, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Bring your wife, you'll have a great time. And I went and, and you mentioned my retirement earlier and stuff. I'll continue to go well after retirement. And I'll be a part of this foundation forever because it's just such a special committee, special group doing extra special things for Mason County Central.
Well, people will look forward to seeing you around the auction. And speaking of that, if anybody has never seen photos or been there, it's a packed house. There's a lot of loyal community members that come out, and they look forward to this. This is like a big old family reunion to help out a great cause.
Yeah, you know that we have folks come from all over the place. My sister and brother-in-law are coming up from Greenville where they live, and my old hometown there. And they've been here a few times because they're like, hey, when is that auction? And if it works out, I'll come up. And so folks come from all over because it's such a fun event. There's so many items to bid on, which, an auction has its own kind of fun, right? I won an item, and that's pretty neat. So we have a blend of silent auction and live auction items, about 70 live auction items, and the rest of them, 300 or so silent auction items. I just say there's something for everybody, and then we also have raffles that are fun, and a couple other things. It's called we're doing two different kinds of raffles and stuff. So, I can get into more details on that. But bottom line is there's a lot of stuff going on. But the auction itself, Joe Johnson, our auctioneer, he's been doing it as long as I've been going, so 27 years. And he's incredible. I don't know if you've ever participated in an auction with him, but he does great work. We make sure we get the high bid, and it's a really, really well-oiled machine event. Because it's just a great group that puts this together.
Well, and it has to be because you have, it's different than going to like a standard auction. You're going to an auction that you see community members and everybody come together, and they want to give you their money. They want this to go to a great cause, not just take something home, but be able to see that bar get higher and higher each year. And take us through that. What are some of the goals?
That's exactly our hope is to and Gary Anderson says it very well, and he'll say he's not the cornerstone of this committee, but he really is. And he'll say, hey, if we made $5, it's $5 more than we had yesterday to give to education. Well, usually we're at $28,000 to $30,000 range that we make for supporting our kiddos here and our teachers at Mason County Central. So it's well beyond that. Yes, you do have a flavor of, you can find items that are at a good price, but it feels a little bit better when you're buying something through this system, knowing that the profits are going toward the Educational Foundation and how we support the kids here at Mason County Central. So it feels a little bit better when, because it might be something you might have bought at, a store or online and stuff like that. But it does feel better because this goes to the heart, and I mentioned Gary Anderson, but Marcy McCloskey and Carla Mayer, and I'm a long list of folks that have been doing this for a long time. But we do have some new blood on board, with the committee, and we meet, a lot. We'll meet the week after the auction, kind of what we learned from this year, what can we do better, let's prepare for next year, and then we meet really starting in early fall, at least every other week, and then for the last 6 weeks we've been meeting every week and getting ready. And then this Friday we are set up all day Friday, set up all day Saturday, and we throw the party on Saturday night, and then we come in and clean up on Sunday. So it sounds like some heavy lifting, but it's a great thing because that's our heart being given too, and stuff. And yeah, I'll bid on items as well, So heck, there's a lot of things there that I like as well.
If you are just joining us, we're talking with Superintendent Jeff Mount, Mason County Central Schools. Let's do a quick reset for those that are joining us, for our listeners and viewers, about the event this Saturday. Location, tickets are still available, start time, all of that. Break it down for us if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So this Saturday, March 7th at the Graystone Event Center. So we used to have it at the Optimist Hall, but the Optimist Hall is under repair. So we've been having it at the Graystone Event Center, and they've just redone a lot of it. So we're really looking forward to getting back in there this year again. We've had it there for the last 4 or 5 years now, since COVID. So that's been a really, really good event center for us. It is a nice location. It's got ample parking and things. So doors open at 5:30. Tickets are $30. I have some right here. Tickets are $30 a piece. And what comes with that is we have, hors d'oeuvres, provided by, and, the Mason County Central Food Service puts that on. They do a great spread. They try to keep a theme-oriented items. Plus, we have drinks. So, adult beverages are available. This is an adult event, and so the beverages are available for you, and those come with that $30 purchase. So once you have this, you'll get a bid number. Once you get your bid number, you're in for drinks and hors d'oeuvres, and you're able to bid on any item, whether it's silent auction, about over 300 silent auction items, and then there's going to be 70 live auction, which amps it up even further. I'm going to go with one of our biggest hits every year is our puppy. We have a puppy every year.
Right.
The puppy will be about 7 weeks old, and so the puppy will be there, I believe. It depends on where they get their shots, when they get their shots or not. Right? So those are all taken care of, and it's a black Labrador. I know that's a popular breed, and I love dogs, but I'm just not home enough to take care of dogs. So, I love visiting everybody else's dogs. So anyway, that's a highlight item every year, but again, I just go back to, there's something for everybody. There is, homewares and things, and, purses. My brother, who sells eyeglass frames for a living, he donates a couple, really high-end, sunglasses, a men's pair and a women's pair and stuff. And, but there are hunting rifles, which is a popular item too, especially in our area. Everybody loves to hunt whitetails around here. I won't say everybody, but most people do, myself included. And so those are always a very popular item. Again, I mentioned raffles and stuff. So we have a sponsor called Rapid River Knives, and they provide knives for us, and we raffle a lot of those off. And if you purchase one of those, you can go in for a raffle for a really high-end deer rifle. I think it's a Tested Model 70. Might be a 6.8 Western. So that's a unique round. So, if it usually go really, really high, and I'll just say that, that's a fun time, doing the raffle. So, that there's more to it than that, but that kind of is it in a nutshell for the night. About 3 hours, maybe 3.5. If you get there at 5:30, we're done really with the auction by 9.
Okay. All right. Good information there. And again, tickets available throughout Scottville and Ludington. There's locations there. We have that in our scroll here on the video, but we'll ask you for that information as well here in a moment. This is your last year as superintendent. You're going to hang things up in June, but still obviously be part of these events and such. What are two things, I guess, that come to mind? I'd love to ask you is of helping to organize this that you are going to miss, I guess, would be that first question, if you don't mind.
Well, the daily connection with people, I think, will be the number one thing. I'm a people person. I value relationships with any and all. And so that will be the hardest thing for me, is not to have the daily genuine connections with fellow educators, but also the kiddos. I mean, I love kids, and that's just something. Everybody says that when they go into education. Well, I love kids, right? And
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, the opposite would be miserable, right? I certainly couldn't have done this for 33 years, so I'll miss that. I'm going to say something I won't miss. I won't miss 4:30 in the morning road checks for darn snow days. I will not miss those. But I'm going to stay connected in one way, shape, or form. So I think that's important for me. I don't know what that'll look like just yet. I don't, but I know something will evolve that, I'm going to stay connected. I'm staying here in Mason County. I love Mason County. I moved up here temporarily 33 years ago, and my roots are deep here now. This is my home. This is my wife's home. This is where we live, and we love it here. And so I'm not going anywhere. And so how I stay connected, I don't know just yet. But I know it'll be a little bit more on my time, because that's the hard part is with this job is you're expected to be everywhere, and you can't be. And that was the biggest struggle when I started the job 20 years ago as superintendent. Was everywhere I was, I felt like I needed to be in two other places at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to navigate that. And I did kind of figure it out, but I still have a guilt that I'm not at that event for the school, because I'm at this event for the school, or with my own kids and things. There's a lot that goes into this job, and it can wear you out a little bit. But I believe I might be the longest standing superintendent in a district in the state of Michigan right now. When I go to the superintendent conferences, everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. 20 years in the same district, when the average is about 3 to 4 in a district. And, I'm just, I'm increasing the odds and, making that average a little bit better. And, but, Mason County Central has been special to me. I started 33 years ago as a science teacher in Ludington, and I taught chemistry and anatomy and physiology, and a lot of great things. And 27 years ago, Mason County Central called and said, would I be interested in a middle school assistant principal job? And I was just finishing up my master's, and I'm like, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And, and the rest is history, because
absolutely.
And it's been a wonderful 27 years here at Mason County Central, a wonderful 33 in Mason County. Just like I've said, I love it. We love it here, and we love the Big Lake. We love our friends and family that have grown here, and we're not going anywhere. So how we stay connected is it was what matters the most.
Absolutely. And through events like the community auction and other, kind of placeholders that have been a staple of MCC over the years. Before you retire in June, I would love to keep that door open and have a one-on-one conversation about, kind of deep diving over those 33 years. I think that would be fun because, when we posted on our Facebook page about your retirement, you saw a lot of love and a lot of compassion and a lot of connections of former students. So I would love to be able to have that one-on-one if you're open to it before June, if I could.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Chris. I'm going to say when I hit the so that night was our board meeting when I announced, and I sent out the posting that I was retiring. And when I left my office here, my first phone call was to my dad. My mom just recently passed. I'm sorry. She was my hero in education. And, I called my dad, who was also a 30-plus year educator. And, and on my way home, we talked, and he said, "Well, you did it. You finally did it." And yep. And I walked in the door, and my daughter's there and says, "Dad, you're already on Facebook," and holds up her phone. You had already posted.
Oh, sorry.
Through, and the comments. I'm like, really? I mean, that was 15 minutes between here and home, and so I'm like, oh man, and but I am deeply humbled by the comments that came. I know 33 years, you make a lot of connections and things, and I saw students from when I taught, and connections with people, obviously here, but that's the desire. As I have to, from my own heart, I have to keep that connection going forward too,
yeah, absolutely.
So I'll help coach. I'll help do. I still work with track right now, and I've got some high jumpers that I'm looking forward to working with this spring, and so I'll stay connected. I will.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's probably going to be a lot of mentoring as well. Whoever steps into those big shoes of yours, that you could provide some information. Although I will tell you this, there is, I hear from what your own words just a few minutes ago that there is a black lab puppy that is up for auction, and now you'll have more time.
I don't think my wife and I are quite ready for that yet. So we'll let it. There will be another black lab puppy or a puppy next year's auction, and the year after that too, because it's really been going since its existence, 31 years with a puppy. So there will be another puppy, and maybe a better time. I don't know what the future holds just yet, but
yeah. Well, we want to, obviously thank you from our standpoint and from the community standpoint. You've been a great asset to connecting and getting the information out, and being able to elevate those students to a higher level. You see it, you hear it, in the programming and the educational, and bonds that pass, and different things that come along, and those that dedication there. So there's been a lot, and I do want to dive into that here in the near future with you. I will tell you this, though, your work is not done for this week. You still are wrapping up the Community Foundation. It takes place this Saturday at Graystone Event Center, right there next to Holiday Inn. You are you're still selling tickets. They're available at what locations? Do you know them off the top of your head there?
Yeah, most of them. The Chamber Alliance, Safe Harbor Credit Union, West Shore Bank, Smith & Eddy Insurance. I have them right here at the Central Business Office, but they're also available at the door. The difference is we'll have two lines. We'll have those who have tickets and those who have not purchased tickets. Guess what? One goes faster. The line with the pre-purchase tickets. You'll come right in and you'll have your cocktail and your hors d'oeuvres before some people get in the door. So it's good to get them ahead of time. They are selling. I have some right here at the Central Business Office. But feel free to reach out to me. I can get them. But also at the, like I said, the Chamber Alliance, Safe Harbor Credit Union, West Shore Bank. Just thinking if I'm Smith & Eddy.
Smith & Eddy. Yep.
And so those are the big ones. So come on in, get your tickets. They're $30 a piece. Doors open at 5:30. Come out and have a great time this Saturday night.
All right. And for form of payment, cash, credit card, checks there, or do you limit it to a certain amount?
We take it all.
Okay. All right. There you go.
We'll figure it out. We've got a card swipe, and we've got, so. But cash is acceptable. Checks are acceptable as well.
That's fantastic. Well, we can't wait to see some of the reaping of the rewards from this after this weekend, and of course for those educators that are able to then have resources, those teachers to be able to say, you know what, I'd like to improve this, or I need these kind of items for my classroom. That keeps the ball rolling, not gets the ball rolling, but keeps this going after 31 years, you said, right?
31 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, Superintendent Jeff Mount, we appreciate you being a part of the conversation. Anything that we missed talking about that you want to add before we wrap up today?
I think we covered everything pretty well, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yep, you got it. Well, let's connect here in the future. Talk more about you. And I know you're not a person that always loves that, but we would love to share that that commitment to the community, because you've done well. You've done very well over the years, and we want to thank you for that too. Superintendent Jeff Mountain joining us this morning here on Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.9. And if you missed any part of this segment, of course, it is available on both of our Facebook pages, WMOM and Hot Country Hits, our YouTube channel as well. You can catch it there. It is